People are constantly asking me, guy on YouTube who talks about comics, what's the best way to invest $5,000 in the collectible comics market? Actually, no one has ever asked me that question or anything like it. But I have thoughts. First of all, why $5,000? Why not $1,000 or $100? Well, because I'm focusing on long-term investment here. And below $5,000, it's very hard to pick comics that are likely to grow steadily. I mostly talk about books that have been around 40 years or more, and if they've been around that long and haven't broken $1,000 in mid-grade, there's unlikely to be a lot of future growth potential either. As for modern books that haven't had a chance to go up yet, there are only 2 or 3 from this century that have established themselves as long-term growth keys, and within mainstream comics, I don't know that there are any more coming. The cold hard truth is that major publishers have only found success milking decades-old IP and have not been able to generate interest in original characters and stories. So the cost of entry for serious investment books that will continue to go up is now well into the thousands, and we're going to be looking at established comics that have been around a long time. If you don't have that much to spend but you still want to build a collection, just buy what you love and don't worry about what happens to the value. Also, let me set the expectations here. This is not advice that is going to make you money quickly. It's been a rough couple years in the hobby, and the goal here is picking out books you can get at a discount right now that won't drop down further, or if they do, the floor of demand will be there to bring them back up. I'm going to assume you've already got money squirreled away in index funds, bonds, 401ks, and you're not building your retirement plan here. Very few of us do have that, but I'm going to assume you're one of them. This video is for the collector who has discretionary funds you can part with and you want to put it into something that can reliably be turned back into money down the line. We want to avoid having you be the dad who kicks the bucket and leaves his kids with a box of sealed Funko Pops they have to take to Goodwill. You're going to be the cool dad who, even though your kids don't give a horse's patoot about your comic book collection, at least someone out there does, and your kids can sell it to that guy when you're dead. I have 3 big recommendations, and I'm going to give them to you in a minute, but first I'm going to tell you what not to do. Here are the big 6 comic investing mistakes. Don't buy your nostalgia. Yes, you were way into Venom when you were a kid, and nothing would thrill the 12-year-old version of you more than having ASM 300 in 9.8 or whatever. The problem with that is your nostalgia is the nostalgia of everyone else your age. So you're buying a book that is surging when your age group reaches middle age, and will tank in another decade or 2 when people your age have stopped splurging on collectibles. Buy what you love because you love it, but for investment, don't buy your nostalgia. Buy the nostalgia of people older than you that is still relevant today and will be remembered tomorrow. Don't buy variants. The 2 fundamentals of collecting are scarcity and demand. You need both, but scarcity pretty much disappeared when they started selling bags and boards in the 70s. The direct market ensured there would be a massive high-grade supply of everything published from the 80s onward. So publishers, wanting in on the action, created artificial scarcity by publishing endless limited-run variant covers. I don't want to crap on things other collectors are passionate about. If you're into them, great. But is anyone going to care about San Diego Comic-Con exclusive variant cover D 10 years from now? No. Let's move on. Don't speculate on movies and shows. Look, I've done it. I even did a whole video about it. I'll sum that video up by saying it has worked 3 times in the last 25 years, and it has failed every other time. Yes, the first appearance of crypto will see a spike when the Superman trailer hits, but then the movie comes out, everyone forgets about it, and the book goes back down to where it started. We all get our information at the same time. Jumping on the next thing coming out might make you some quick money if you time it just right, but it probably won't, and it's not a good long-term bet. Don't buy restored books. Not because restored books are bad, they're just very tricky to price and there's a lot to know. There are different degrees of restoration, different qualities of restoration, and certain types of restoration, like trimmed pages and married covers, that will kill a book's value. Figuring out how much to pay for a restored book is a complex equation that takes a lot of knowledge, and if you're dipping your toe in the hobby, you probably don't want to mess around with it yet. Don't flip. When you sell books, you're probably going to pay a commission of 10 to 20% one way or another. Whether it's an auction house, eBay, Shortbox, or whatever, they're going to take a cut. If you're selling a book you just bought in the last year or 2, you'll need a fairly big jump in price just to break even. And if you're grading a raw book or cracking a graded book and going for a higher grade, that jump in sale price is going to need to be even bigger to cover those costs. As a collector, you've got a lot of outside forces eating away at any money you might hope to make. One of the best assets you can arm yourself with is patience. Buy books that will go up and give them time to do it. I'm talking at least a decade. Buy them either to pass on to your loved ones or to help finance a major life change way down the line. Don't buy bronze keys. This one may come as a surprise because bronze keys have gone way up in the last decade, but that's why I'd advise staying away. The three main bronze keys are Hulk 181, the first Wolverine, Giant Size X-Men 1, right here, and Amazing Spider-Man 129, the first Punisher. They represent a sort of sweet spot for the market because they're high-demand books with massive populations in high grade. And it looks to me like that has made them targets for some large-scale institutional investors buying up multiple copies in order to control prices. Those books were driven up into the six figures just a few years ago, despite there being hundreds of 9.8 copies in circulation. That just doesn't happen for any other book. They're going for a fraction of those prices now, but I'd still stay away until the dust settles on whatever was going on there. Now let's get to the three types of comics I would recommend. For all the books I'm about to talk about, I'd suggest buying in mid-grade between about 4.0 and 7.0. The high-grade copies are mostly going to be outside the $5,000 price range, and the low-grade copies are generally less likely to grow at the same rate. Below 4.0, there's often some serious defect like pages detached or pieces missing from the cover, and that makes the value of the book less reliable. Look for bright colors that present well and don't have creases or stains in the areas where the eye is drawn. Those factors matter a lot to sale price regardless of what the grade says. My first recommendation is pretty obvious advice. The surest bet for high-end collecting is early Amazing Spider-Man books. GP Analysis puts out a monthly market report and ASM always ranks on top. This one title accounts for about a fourth of all collectible comic sales. Specifically, I'd look at Steve Ditko's legendary early run of issues in which he created the core of Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery. It was a monumental burst of creativity, and there's really nothing else like it in comics. Practically every early Spider-Man book is a key. Of course, you've got Amazing Fantasy 15, which is way outside our price range. Even a 0.5 copy is going to go in the tens of thousands, and that's likely to be torn up and stained. You'd be lucky to find one with a cover. Issue 1 is also unlikely to go for less than $5,000 in any reasonable condition, but from issue 2 on, there are a lot of options. That issue 2 is the first appearance of the Vulture. So I'm going to open up my laptop here, and we're going to look at some books. All right, here we've got issue 2. I said don't go with restored, so we're not going to look at this one, but here we've got a 3.5. Blue label, selling for $1,860 at Heritage. Then you've got Dr. Octopus with issue 3 and Sandman with issue 4. Issue 5 isn't considered a key because it's not Dr. Doom's first appearance, but it comes close and I'd leave it on the list. Then you've got the Lizard in 6, Electro in 9, Mysterio in 13, Green Goblin in 14, and Kraven in 15. I'd also add Annual 1 to that list. It came out right after 15, it combines most of those early villains into the Sinister Six, and it's an all-around great issue. Ditko's run never quite reached the same heights after that, but he had a few more notable stories. You can also get into Romita's fantastic runs starting with 39. He's got a ton of great issues as well, which are easy to sell, but they don't quite have the same glow around them as those first few Ditko books. Early Amazing Spider-Man is the Apple stock of comics. The next category of books I'm going to recommend is early Joker covers. I think out of every comic book character ever created, the Joker has a good shot at having the longest shelf life. I'm going to get a little heady here explaining why. Apologies, I'll try to make it quick. When Carl Jung wrote about the collective unconscious, he identified certain characters that appeared in stories throughout civilization. He called them archetypes. He said the oldest and most universal archetype is the trickster. The trickster is an agent of chaos, a rule breaker, impulsive and playful, the raw energy that precedes moral awareness. You had the coyote in Native American mythology, Anansi the spider from West African folklore, of course Loki from Norse mythology, and Puck from Shakespeare. You can probably see where I'm going here. The Joker is our modern incarnation of that trickster archetype. I don't remember the first time I saw the Joker. It was probably on a rerun of the 60s Batman TV show. But I have a feeling when I first saw him, it was like he'd always been there in my mind. We are drawn to the character in a primal way that few other creations can match. Now, when it comes to obtaining a piece of that character in his earliest form, it gets a little murky. You've got to know what you're looking for. There's his key first appearance in Batman 1, but he wasn't on the cover of that book, and there's no way of getting a copy in our price range anyway. Then when he did get his first cover in Detective 40, the colorist didn't give him a pale white face, and there's no mention of him in the actual issue, so it's not in as high a demand as it would otherwise be. The first clear Joker cover is Detective Comics 62, which is still a bit outside our price range, and then Batman 11, which would be my pick for the best Joker cover to own. Very pricey though, in any grade. Let's see if you can really get an early Joker cover for under $5,000. We've got Batman 11. The fair market values in mid-grade are around $10,000. We don't get under $5,000 until we get down to 2.0, and there aren't very many copies down at that level. This book may be unattainable for the price range I'm talking about. That leaves us with a bunch of early one-off Joker stories that require a bit of work to hunt down, but always draw interest from both serious and casual collectors. You've got Detective 69 with the Genie cover, 71 with the calendar, 76 with the giant scissors, 85 with the twin Jokers, 91 with the banana peel, 102, 114, and 118. All of these are from well within the Joker's first decade. And the closest thing Joker has to an origin story is Detective 168, which doesn't show or mention him until the surprise ending. Let's go to 71. And this is him pulling pages off the calendar. Here we've got a Blue Label 2.0 selling for $2,000. Great buy. Then over on Batman, there's the chest cover of issue 23, the Joker Mobile in 37, Bad Luck Joker in issue 40, Floating Head Joker in 44, another Joker car in 52, and Joker for President in 55. This is Dick Sprang. Dick Sprang had his own style for drawing all the characters, but particularly the Joker. You know a Dick Sprang Joker. Every time I say the name Dick Sprang, I'm trying to get through it. I'm going to say it one or two more times. Dick Sprang, Dick Sprang, Dick Sprang. Here we've got a 3.0 Blue Label, $1,800. $1,800 for a 3.0 of Batman 23. That's a really good deal. That's a really good investment. And that is a cool cover to have. Here we got Batman number 40. I've seen this one before with the ladder falling on his head. Higher population, 365 books. So the values are going to be a little bit lower because it's less rare. Dips below 5,000 at 8.5. You can show anyone these books and they're going to know what they're looking at and why they're significant. They're sought after in auctions, but they're not priced like keys, so I think they're a great opportunity. The last category I'd recommend is EC Comics from the early 50s. EC was a top-selling publisher in the post-World War II era after superheroes died down. A core element of their success was consistently putting out covers that jumped off the newsstand and grabbed readers' attention with a signature mix of shock, disgust, titillation, and humor. To get those amazing covers, they paid the highest page rates, which attracted the best artists in the business. You had guys like Al Feldstein, Wally Wood, Jack Davis, Johnny Craig, even the great Frank Frazetta did some covers in the later years. It's not about the characters, it's not even about the stories, really, it's about the unforgettable covers. EC books split into 4 major categories: horror, crime, sci-fi, and war. The big 3 horror titles are Vault of Horror, Haunt of Fear, and of course, Tales from the Crypt. There's a whole lot of beheading, premature burials, and rotting corpses. They're not everyone's cup of tea, but the people who are into them are very into them. The crime titles, shock suspense stories and crime suspense stories, among others, were at the center of the censorship controversy that resulted in the Comics Code. They pushed the boundaries on violence and gore to a degree that's shocking even by today's standards. But they also aim to expose the hypocrisy of mainstream American values with stories about white supremacy, domestic abuse, and blind nationalism. It's impossible to overstate how much this went against the grain of America at the time. There's no doubt that subversiveness was deemed the real threat and spurred the government to crack down. The war books, Two-Fisted Tales and Frontline Combat, are less celebrated today than the other titles, but are worth a look because they were largely drawn by veterans. They showed the horrors of war with authentic detail and brutal honesty, setting them apart from the vast majority of war comics from that period or any other. And finally, my favorite, the science fiction titles. Weird science and weird fantasy. Rocket ships, scantily clad women, and slimy tentacled monsters. These covers didn't push the shock envelope quite as far as the others, but they made up for it with wild concepts, humor, and absolutely iconic space-age artwork. Let's look at some EC books. Weird fantasy. This one I sold recently for like $100 in low grade. You can get a 9.0 for $3,400 and 8.5 for $725. So Weird Fantasy 11, this is where New York City blows up. We got these going in 8.5 for $450. Here's a great monster cover. Believe this is a Feldstein. Weird Fantasy 15. In the 100, all the way up to 8.0, we're still under $1,000. What's fun about collecting EC books is you're not locked into what every other collector deems the important, valuable issues. You can go after the covers that speak to you, and you'll most likely find they appeal to others as well. EC books are in high demand, but aside from the handful of covers brought up in the Senate indecency hearings, that usually doesn't translate into high prices. Also, when it comes to EC, I'm a fan of going after mid or low grade copies. The high grades still go for a lot more, but these books appeal to a different audience of collector that isn't necessarily obsessing about creases and spine ticks. If you are one of those collectors though, you might want to check out this spine tick remover from Immaculate Comics. If you've never heard of spine tick removal before, it's probably not what you're thinking. It's a modified tacking iron that uses moderate heat to press out small ticks that can bring down the grade on your comics. Here's how you use it. You heat up the iron to about 135 degrees. Lightly wet the targeted area with a damp cotton swab. Slide a Tic insert inside the book, place a silicone sheet over the comic to protect it, then gently press the tacking iron over the sheet in a figure-8 pattern until the crease is smoothed out. Press the comic when you're done and Bob's your uncle. So don't keep removing spine ticks the old-fashioned way. With the Spine Tick Remover and Tic Be Gone by Immaculate Comics, your ticks be gone. Those are my picks for building a comic collection you can enjoy today with some peace of mind that it'll hold its value long after your coffin is lowered into the grave, ideally after you're dead. While I've got you here, I want to say thanks to everyone who kept coming back to watch all my auction closing videos. That series got me over the finish line to monetization, so I'm very grateful. I promised myself when I started this channel that I wouldn't ask people to like and subscribe. It bugs me when channels do that. I know how to like and subscribe, and I'll do it if I want to. I've never really understood why creators are so relentless about doing it, but I've learned from looking at my analytics that over half the repeat viewers of this channel aren't subscribed. So knowing that, I kind of get it. It's a little thing that doesn't help you much, but you'll see me in your browse feed more if you do tap that. And if you want to see me in your browse feed more, do the thing. I'm not going to say it. Do what you like. Don't feel obligated, but I would not mind if you did. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.